everyone and welcome to In My Mug episode 348 on Monday the 13th of July 2015. I am your host Stephen Layton. Welcome to In My Mug and welcome to the news. So we should get on with the news. Before you ask, what do you call a man from Cannock in a shirt and tie? The accused, normally. But no, I'm dressed up as I've got some meetings later. And I can wear grown-up clothes as well, so there is still a little bit of red in there though, unfortunately, which I don't think I'm ever not going to have on there. But yes, it's nice to play dressing up games sometimes, isn't it? So anyway, we should get on with the news. El Salvador, as I mentioned last week, were on their way back. Well, on the site now are the Santa Patronas, and the Santa Patronas this year I am super excited to share with you. One of my favourite relationships with those guys, and the natural bourbon is particularly special. But if you... natural bourbon, by the way, as well, probably won't be in my mug because there's not a massive amount of it. But if you want to try them all, which I would recommend that you do, we do have a starter pack as well, which is, I think there's 5 of them in total. So you've got the Pacamaras and the Bourbons. Really worth checking those out. World Coffee Throwing Championships. If you don't know what the heck those words mean together, go to tampatantrum.com where there's a blog post about it. It's the inaugural World Coffee Throwing Championships next Sunday at the Bernard Shaw in Dublin. If you are from Ireland and you fancy having a beer, a laugh and meeting lots of silly coffee people, throwing bags of coffee around, go check it out. It's definitely worth checking out. And whilst on the subject of Tampa Tantrum, do you remember me going to Prague a few weeks back? Well, those videos have started to go up. In the first one is from a guy called Shahan, who is a professor from the University of Zurich, I think it is, in Switzerland. Amazingly clever guy, very heavy, lots of info in there about taste perception and coffee. But if you are getting geekier and geekier about coffee, go listen to somebody sensible talk about it instead of me. And anyway, that was the news. We should move on to this week's Focus On. And this week's Focus On is it's on Versace, which is a varietal. So Versace is a mutation, a coffee varietal mutation of the Bourbon varietal, and was developed in the Western Valley in Costa Rica, near to the town of Sachi, hence the Versace. It was a natural and spontaneous mutation, similar to things like Caturra in Brazil, Pacas in El Salvador, but very distinctive looking trees with 45-degree branches coming off it, and they have a very distinctive bronze coloured leaf, which is a mixture of normal green with like bronzy tip bits on them. The Versace produces a kind of an amazing cup at high altitude, so it really does like high altitudes and requires lots of shade, and luckily requires very little chemical input, so very little need to spray, and is very good for organic farms. Tends to have a very elegant acidity, lots of fruit and a huge sweetness, and quite often a very sticky sweetness as well. And although I've said like it likes the high altitudes, it does grow at lower altitudes, but just seems to thrive in the whole Costa Rica environment. I guess that's why it's mutated and grown from strength to strength. And that was Focus On. So it's really cool when an old favourite returns, and this is our second time of having this particular lot, but we've worked with Herbazu since 2005, so it's a coffee I know super well. The mill is in the Naranjo region, which is the 6th canton of the province of Adajula. I get that right, in Costa Rica. It's around about 126 square kilometres and has a population of around about 45,000 people. Herbazu is very close to lots of farms that we buy from. So think of Licho, think of Vista Alval, think of Arbar. All these are neighbours, and quite often they kind of cross over to each other and talk to each other and work with each other. Herbazu consists of 13 small farms, which is owned by 5 brothers and 8 sisters. So they all have little farms and all come together in Herbazu as the mill. And they all run the mill. They all have a say in it. They all own a piece of it. And yeah, it was really good to meet the family back in 2011 when I first visited. Then in 2013 and 2014. Didn't get to go this year. This year I sent Roland instead, so I'm probably surprised if we see any coffee next year, because they probably won't send it to us anymore. When I did visit, I got to cup nearly 20 different lots from the farm, different days picking, different parts of the farm, different family members. And this lot then shone head and shoulders above and has continued to really impress us, and something that I'm really enjoying working with. Costa Rica is quite unique as in that they have just amazing traceability down to days pickings and things, but also amazing traceability to varietals and the farms and stuff like that. It really is a great one. And Kitia, which is this farm lot, is something a little bit special. So we should talk about the figures. Of course, it's from Costa Rica. It's from the Ajujula province, in the region of Naranjo. The nearest city is Lourdes de Naranjo, which is very, very close to the farm. This particular farm is Finca Katia, who is one of the sisters. The mill is Herbazu. It is a honey process. It is grown at 1,500 to 1,600 metres, and is owned by Katia Barantes Zoringa. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything. So I'm going to whap you on... Actually, before I whap you on pause, we should go to the funky Matt bit, which I know this week is going to be really good.
Right, here we are. Always happy to wave you off up into the sky. And happy to where we're going for this week's one, because it's a coffee that I've worked with since 2004, 2005, and know super well. So we're going to Central America, the fine continent that it is, that we go to a lot, and we're going to go down to Costa Rica. So Costa Rica is about 10 million population, very peaceful place. Actually doesn't have an army. It's an interesting one. And then here's another interesting one. Most Costa Ricans have 4 names. 2 first names, then the surnames of the mother and father. I wonder what that would make me. Stephen Philip Barrett Layton. Anyway, enough rambling. This is Herbazu. So this is not the farm. This is the mill where all the cherries are processed and all the brothers and sisters bring all of their coffee to. Now, to the left there, that you can see, in front of the farm there, you can see that there's some trees. That is a farm called Negra Perla, and we had that about 2-3 years ago. And just as we swing round here, if you look to the left, that is where Arbar is, Vista El Val, and we've also got Licho, which is just a little bit behind Herbazu. So a mega rich, amazing coffee bit of land. Like, it produces some of the best coffees from Costa Rica for me, and they're all within around about a mile of each other. It's absolutely beautiful. So there you can see the topography of Costa Rica. You know, a beautiful spine running through the centre of it, and this is where all the coffees are. This is the central stroke western valley. The bottom part of that is known as Tarazu, which we've seen a fair bit of as well. And that was a really good map bit. I like that.
A good map bit, I think you will agree. But now we should go to Roland's daft fact of the week. Costa Rica exports around about 90% of its sales, and this represents 15% of the total exports of the country. Coffee ranks 13th in the world as the biggest producer, and is 1.82% of the world's production. I liked it in Costa Rica. Back. Let's get straight into what I know is going to be the best part of this whole set is the espresso. This for me was one of my highlights of espresso this year. So it starts off with lots of acidity, like lots of acidity. There's like lemon and it's citrus, but then it just turns into this chocolatey kind of toffee. Really, really lovely. Like, just so complex. The acidity's there, but there's this toffee and chocolate and just... It's really good. So, milk. Adding the milk, I don't like it. No, I like it. I don't like the thing it tastes of. So for me, it reminds me of Nutella chocolate spread, which I don't like. But I quite like in there. It's got this really thick and like Nutella type taste to it. There's a little bit of the toffee there. The acidity's gone. Like the lemon acidity has just disappeared. It's gone out. It's not there anymore. But it really is Nutella. And here, this is why I don't wear shirts and ties, because I spill things down myself all the time. Lemon, toffee. There's a little bit of that chocolate there. It's not as much. I think the milk really brings out that Nutella. But this time, it's like a sugar sweetness. Again, it's changing. It's a complex coffee. And I think every time you'll go back to this, you'll find these things in different quantities. I know I have. Every time I come to it, I remember the first time I tasted the espresso, I was just like, this just tastes like candy floss. I haven't seen that so much today, but let me know if you do. It is a super sweet, super delicious coffee. Listen, I'm going to go. I'm going to shut up. Thank you very much for joining me, as always. And do remember, life is definitely too short for bad coffee. But it's not too bad for coffee throwing.